made that joke last night as well. So
Okay, so
Next
we've
thing.
got next up is the Auzituck Gunship.
or simply I just call it the Wookiee Gunship. It's so much easier to call it that.
It's the Wookiee Tweebo. A wooden spaceship.
Made of, at least in part, wood from Kashyyyk.
Yeah.
However, for the cases of the game, moulded in plastic.
Yes, sadly they do not do an all mahogany special edition.
Just imagine if that came out. How much that would weigh. B, how many players would go, I've got a splinter.
And the cost.
And the cost, yeah.
I would
£100 a ship.
probably not let that stop me for just this one specific thing.
just to actually get a wooden Wookiee ship.
Yep. This is being marginally reluctant to come out the packet. There we go.
It's, I'll say one thing. Wookiees make a pretty ship.
Wookiees do make quite a pretty ship, and it's quite dinky.
Yeah.
As well. This is not a huge vessel.
No.
Despite the fact you can apparently pack quite a lot of people inside there.
You can put so many Wookiees in that thing. I don't know, maybe Wookiees don't really care too much about personal space.
Do you want the actual model to show off?
I
Again?
will indeed take the actual ball to show the camera.
Something I will say, actually, in general, the paint jobs across this wave, from what I've seen, have been really nice. Like, we've only showcased 2 of the ships so far, but all 3 of them are really spot on in terms of the quality of like details and everything about them. I'm a big fan. Plus, I always like to see more ships from Rebels, which the Auzituck is.
Yes. It's always nice. Thankfully, without the horrendous CG Wookiees that were also featured in Rebels.
Those were slightly distressing.
Yeah.
They look great in Clone Wars, not so much in Rebels.
Yeah. Shame that, really.
Someone's got a hand of CGI again and done too much with it.
No, I think the problem is they didn't do enough with it.
Second time tonight, Max. Maybe we should get a counter going, Elliot.
Wait for that.
Anyway, moving on swiftly. There's a lot of stuff going on with this, so I think it's nice to have our epic specialist in Robin sitting in the booth to help us through a few things.
Glad I didn't say anything there. I was about to say, oh, glad, yes.
So, there's a couple of interesting things about the Auzituck Gunship in general. The first of which is it comes with the Auxiliary Firing Arc Rules reference card, indicating the fact that it may have something slightly interesting going on. Unlike our Wave 9 ships in the SF and the Arc, it's not a front and rear arc. This is 2 side-facing auxiliary arcs, giving it a 180-degree arc of fire in a similar fashion to the YV666.
Yep. But on a small base.
And
for the Rebels rather than Scum.
I'm interested to try and fly some of these, mainly because of the fact it's a small ship with a YV66 front arc. There's several times I've come up to a game and gone, oh, that's like 2 degrees further left, and if it was there, I'd have a shot. Yeah, it makes
it's going to make it much harder to dodge. That's
the key thing.
It's a big arc.
Those 180 arcs are a real pain for arc dodgers.
Do you want about the other card that's potentially...
Yes, indeed. The other one we've got in here is another rules reference card for the Reinforce action. Standard play X-Wing players, don't be worried about this. This is slightly confusing and new if you haven't played Epic before.
I played Epic and I was confused. Twice.
Reinforce is an Epic action previously, so in a similar way to which we've seen Coordinate move across from Epic to Standard play, we are seeing Reinforce move across from Epic to Standard play, though they have slightly tweaked it. In Epic play, a Reinforce token gets assigned to the fore or aft section of your Epic ship and provides a free evade result on every defense roll you make.
It's a permanent evade for an entire turn.
This has a similar effect. It gives you that automatic evade result across the whole turn, but rather than it affecting either the fore or aft section of your Epic ship, it instead applies to the fore or the aft of your standard ship, which is defined as inside your firing arc for fore and outside your firing arc for aft.
Which, considering it's a 180 firing arc, is half your ship either way.
Now, one of the really interesting things about this is because it is defined is the ship inside your firing arc, which means that you actually cover slightly more than the 180 degrees of your ship
On the fore.
on the fore.
Or the aft,
because
as long as it's...
or on the aft, either way, because as long as just even the tiniest sliver of the base,
Yeah,
It's
even
in your firing
even
arc.
a nub of the plastic base is enough for it
see.
still to be deemed an arc.
So it's not the fact. So it's not defined as the closest point being at the reinforced section.
Nope. No,
Oh, that's going to make it
when a small or large ship with
tanky.
so yeah,
We're gonna have a
if
judge
the-
on the floor when this comes on the stream.
if the fore side of the token is face up and the attacker is inside the defender's firing arc, or if the aft side of the token is face up and the attacker is not inside the defender's firing arc. Oh no, so yes, the fore section is larger because the aft one does not allow anything to extend into
into the firing arc.
the
Yeah.
fore firing arc.
I see. All right.
So it's easier to arc dodge the aft than it is the fore section.
It's easier to avoid the reinforced
Yeah.
section. Yeah. So, interesting stuff. Potentially making for a very tanky ship as a result. As the more times you get shot at, the more value you're getting out of your reinforced token each turn.
Yeah.
Moving on to our pilots at this point.
Yep, that sounds like a good start.
We start off at pilot skill 1 with the Kashyyyk Defender. So the Kashyyyk Defender is the baseline generic Auzituck gunship, coming with the standard stat line of 3 attack, 1 agility, 6 hull and 3 shields. It's got the focus and reinforce actions, so no target lock unusually for a rebel ship, and has very simply 2 crew icons for its upgrade bar, and that's 24 points.
It's a beast to take down. This thing.
Yeah.
That 9 hit points behind a reinforce is gonna take some shooting.
It's the fact that guaranteed for a whole turn as long as you're pointing in the right direction, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, this thing can tank. The initial approach, that first joust, it's going to be really difficult to take down one of these.
Interesting question. Sorry to nip back here. Lithy has just said, "Can you juke down the reinforce?"
No, because it adds.
But it does add an evade result, so
Which could potentially be juked,
I believe.
because the juke happens
No,
after.
because the this counts as a modification to your
So
dice results.
The
which
attacker
means
modifies first, and then the defender.
then the
modifies.
defender. It occurs. The reinforce occurs in the same step that you'd spend an evade token, which is after Duke would take effect.
However, you can crackshot through a reinforce token.
You absolutely can.
So there are ways around it, just a limited number. So 24 points for the Kashyyyk Defender. It seems fairly decent at that price point. I think the main thing it's going to suffer from is being a bit lacking in offensive output.
Yes.
Yeah, but 3 green dice, front
3 red
180 degree
dice.
arc, 4 range band 1, of a lot of things potentially.
Yeah, it's going to be very high variance.
Yeah. It's not going to have the modification. Is the problem.
And I think that's the big thing that separates it out from the B-Wing. A lot of people have been comparing this and saying, oh, this treads on a lot of the same ground as the B-Wing. I don't think it does, because what the B-Wing has got is things like the system slot that allows it to slap the fire control system on there and things like that.
This can't even target lock.
No. So I think this is going to fulfil a different role.
Yeah.
I think in many ways this is going to be more akin to something like the Lambda shuttle.
Yeah, it's a tiny cheap shuttle that can survive longer.
Yeah.
I think, more than anything else.
And that 180 arc makes a world of difference.
If it's going to supplant anything, it's the U-Wing.
I was about to say the U-Wing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think there is a real danger there. The U-Wing does have an advantage in that you can get a little bit of extra agility, and does have a system slot.
It does, but that little bit of extra agility is kind of taken off by that reinforce.
It's less reliable on that front.
I was going to say, there is a slight thing though. The U-Wing was the same points cost. Was it 24?
20. I can't
The U-Wing's
remember.
a bit cheaper.
I think
Yeah,
the
the
U-Wing's a
U-Wing's
little bit cheaper. I think it's 23
For the basic.
for the basic one,
So-
if I'm
Also,
remembering correctly.
Do consider that it's got probably a better dial, the U-Wing, arguably, and that it's also a large base, and that is a factor in itself.
That is relevant.
I would disagree about the dial. I think the Auzituck dial is pretty stunningly good actually for what it is.
Well, it is, but it's, I don't think that's not. I think the U-Wing still has a good dial.
The big disadvantage the Auzituck has is it doesn't have a K-turn or any way of replicating that effect, whereas the U-wing via its pivot wing can potentially flip if it needs to.
But it does have some nice hard turns, and you've got a front 180-degree arc, so you don't need to.
It can 2 and 3 hard turn, both white. It's only a red manoeuvre is 5 forwards.
Plus, it's even got 5 forward on the dial, which is...
Imagine putting 9 num on it. No red moves.
True.
Yeah. Just open that dial up and put your foot down.
Yeah.
Just floor it.
He's only a point.
So you could get...
I'm very interested to see how this plays. I
Yeah.
don't have a good feel as yet fully for how the ship is going
I
to work.
think this one might take a little while to figure out properly.
I'm so going to have to play it with the 9 num on effects now, just to see what it does.
So clocking up to our next pilot, at pilot skill 3, we've got the Wookiee Liberator.
I don't have a picture of this, so
in which case would you like the card?
please.
This is 26 points and has an elite pilot talent slot. So for those 2 points, you get 2 points of pilot skill and an elite pilot talent slot, which seems like a reasonable exchange to me.
Could be another generic pilot skill 5 with VI.
Yeah, there's a range of different things that you can stick on there. I think like Lieutenant Kestel, the Wookiee Liberator, or in fact any Auzituck that's got a elite pilot talent slot available to it, will benefit from things that give it action-free dice mods.
Yes,
so
definitely.
Predator's decent on this. Lone Wolf is potentially decent on this.
Yeah.
Expertise is possibly a bit expensive for it.
I think you're right. Expertise might be
On
a
the
little much.
And it's
But 4 points.
You know, they get stressed is a bit of a
It's still 4 points. Expertise is a lot.
But
But it means you could take your reinforce as your action, and as long as you're not stressed, you have both bases covered.
Yeah, like anything that lets it modify dice without having to spend its action is,
Nice.
I think, strong for
Yeah,
it.
because this is going to want to be reinforcing as standard.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
I think there's things to do with the Wookiee Liberator.
Interesting question. What about if you were to... This is me theory crafting, so this is literally on the fly. What about if you were to put Janels, as in crew card, alongside this? So you do focus as your act... So you get past... So Kyle Gatan with Janels. So Kyle passes a focus, turns it into an evade. So you could potentially have an evade and the...
Yes. And they'd both be able to function perfectly well. Yeah. That's a thing you could do.
Jyn Erso, I think, is going to be very interesting as a crew on any of the Auzitucks, because she gives you bonuses for every ship that's in Arc.
Up to 3.
Up to 3. And with a 180 Arc, your chances of getting ships in Arc is much greater.
Good. Pretty good. Yeah, no, Jyn might find a home here.
I'd still find it, personally, better on a Ghost because you have the front and rear printed arcs, and it's a much wider arc as it is anyway because it's on a larger ship.
Still same coverage, technically speaking. Still 108, because it's 90. Yeah.
But it's double the base coverage and stuff.
The directional is different, but Ghost is expensive. This is cheap-ish. Much cheaper than a Ghost.
In fact, when we get to the upgrades, we will see that they've put some thought into the fact that there is this larger firing arc with some of the stuff they've included, which I'm quite pleased by. Then at pilot skill 5, we've got Loeric, who is our first named unique pilot for the Auzituck. So Loeric gets an EPT slot, bumps up to pilot skill 5, is 2 more points at 28, and comes with the following pilot ability. When another friendly ship at range 1 is defending, you may spend 1 reinforced token. If you do so, the defender adds 1 evade result.
Yeah.
Burn off your evades to boost someone else's defences.
Yes.
You know who that sounds like a good partner for?
You're going to say Biggs, aren't you?
You don't see the slight smile on my face when I looked in your direction. You knew where I was going.
It's already been brought up a lot. We've been sort of discussing it already, and I agree with something Robin said, that I don't think it's going to be as horrendous as people seem to think. Because the particular build people have been talking about involving Biggs, Loeric, Rex, and I've forgotten his name now. The Hawk guy. You know,
Kyle?
Rogue Garnet?
Yeah.
Rogue Garnet,
Rogue
yes.
Garnet doesn't have much damage output.
Yeah.
And is going to struggle on those grounds.
But it's one of those lists that's going to stay around for a while.
It'll
I think
kind of-
that in itself could be enough. So damage over
Maybe.
time rather than at white.
The thing is, it'll be all it'll end up with is some frustrating games that force time, and to be honest, it'll be a survivable list, but again, it's really not interesting.
I think we will see Lowrick get in play, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to necessarily be alongside Biggs. I think it's going to be as a potential replacement for Biggs. It's a ship that does something a bit different.
A touch more expensive, but better survivability in itself. You can take the crew, which might help, and it'll let you be another sort of the defense buff you put alongside the rebel punchy things. And the rebels have a lot of good punchy things.
Yeah, definitely.
Plus, fundamentally, if people are shooting at Lowrick, they're not shooting at the rest of your list.
That too.
But the attacks are going to be reduced because they're shooting at Biggs or Lowrick with Captain Rex. So
Well, they're shooting at Lowrick with Lowrick's ability.
So either Lowrick's getting the benefits of his reinforced token on himself, or Lowrick's passing the benefits of his reinforced token off to someone else. I think Lowrick's got some interesting...
the moment he spends
stuff.
it, though, he is weakened by a lot.
He is, but you can spend it late. He chooses when.
And then finally, we've got our ace Auzituck pilots. I'm going to attempt this Wolfwarrow.
Wolfwarrow.
My apologies to all of our wiki viewers.
When your capital city is Ruruk, you learn how to say these things.
You can tell somebody in this room plays RPGs a lot and gets the whole names pronounced correctly.
Oh, when I had to say that city, I nearly had a heart attack trying to say that.
So, clocking in at pilot skill 7. Also an EPT, 30 points. And Wolfwarrow has the pilot ability, when attacking, if you have no shields and at least one damage card assigned to you, roll 1 additional attack dice.
That feels like putting it with draw the fire to deliberately take that damage and then make it punchy.
Yeah. I think there's potentially an interesting build to be had here, which is Wolfwarrow with a suitable EPT to give him some offensive modification, and then sticking C-3PO on him.
But that's going to make him more tankier.
Yeah.
What you do is you take damage to the point that you get your extra red dice, and then you switch to full tank mode.
Yeah.
And fly around being an irritating 4 to 5 attack dice thing.
Oh, and the best bit is,
that's
because he
super-
rolls 1 defense dice, if you call naught, get 1, then you
Yeah,
get
no,
1
that's-
for the arc he's defending with his...
Yeah, that's why C-3PO. He gets
Oh,
he
jeez.
can get an automatic 2 on his evade once per turn,
Oh.
which is really quite nice. And again, we're seeing another rebel ship where the highest pilot skill comes in at the 7. They like this. The rebels really like their pilot skill 7s.
Well, again, if you're saying this was originally seen in the Rebel series, you've got Hera, Ace Pilot, in both versions at 7, Ahsoka Tano, 7,
Nora. There's this. The rebels like their pilot skill 7. And now to say it does well for them.
But a useless trivia for you. Lowrick is actually the RPG character that appears in the beginner game of the Edge of the Empire beginner game.
There we go.
I think I've actually been alongside Lowrick in an example game then.
Well, after our last
you've met him.
RPG, I would feel part Wookiee, but that's an aside point.
So we've then got some upgrade cards to go through. Just
Some
quickly
duplicates.
before we start on that, the Auzituck actually has a really good selection of pre-existing upgrade cards in it, because it gives rebels access to quite a lot of things that they've had comparatively limited access to before. So perhaps least interestingly, we've got another copy of Intimidation. For those of you not familiar, that's when you're touching an enemy ship, reduce that ship's agility value by 1 as a 2-point EPT. But it's not been available in many packs, so good to have it if you want it. Particularly if you want to go all in on bumps. There is a copy of Hull Upgrade, which, despite the fact it is one of those upgrades that you just assume is littered throughout the game,
Only appears in the Star Viper.
it's in the Star Viper and one other pack. I think it's Imperial Aces.
Might be that.
It might be, because I definitely have more than 2 copies of it.
Like, I've got a lot of copies, but that's just because I own 2 copies of Imperial Aces for reasons best known to myself.
Fair.
Oh boy.
I really like TIE Interceptors.
No, you got nothing on me. I bought 4 boxes of that damn expansion.
I feel out of place.
Well.
I shouldn't belong in this room.
Nice.
I mean, fair enough.
That's fine. You'll come to understand the wisdom of the First Order.
No, I choose to rebel against it.
And finally, there's Tactician. And Tactician is actually a pretty scarce upgrade, despite its popularity, despite how much people like using it.
Yeah.
However, it has come in a recent tournament kit.
Which is good.
Yes.
I couldn't find my own copy, but I was aware of it because I got lent one last night after your suggestions on a list build.
Yes, there's a nice shiny old art version.
And Tactician in particular synergizes very nicely with something with an 180-degree arc, because it's suddenly
Or the choice
very
of a pair.
hard. It's suddenly very hard to escape that 180 band.
A slight point to note, the image that we currently have on the screen is from an older pre-FAQ version. The Tactician is now limited, so only 1 per ship. Relevant for the gunship, because of the 2 crew slots, you can't put 2 tacticians and range 2 double stress.
Just pile them in.
Or even technically, obviously, on the shuttle.
Yeah, or whatever. You can only have 1 tactician per ship.
Yeah.
Which is probably for the best.
Then we've got 3 new upgrades. So starting us off, we have got an elite pilot talent, a unique elite pilot talent at that. We have got Selflessness, joining the ranks of Ruthlessness and Fearlessness. This is the Rebel iteration. Selflessness is a small ship only, Rebel only upgrade. When a friendly ship at range 1 is hit by an attack, you may discard this card to suffer all uncancelled hit results instead of the target ship.
Yeah.
For 1 point.
I mean, if you want to quickly activate Wolf Roar,
Yeah.
And you take 4 hits in a turn.
or well, even just getting him down, it's that little bit quicker. Just to, you want to.
One of the key rules of X-Wing is you want to concentrate fire on one target and you want to take that target down as quickly as you can,
Yes.
by and large. Like, there are some exceptions for that. There are control lists that thrive on spreading their fire around. But for the most part...
Generally speaking, you pick a thing, you kill it. You pick another thing, you kill it.
And Selflessness works around that directly. Like, you pull damage off one ship and put it onto another one, and as a result, everything lives a little bit longer than it might otherwise have done.
Yeah.
For 1 point, I think that's decent. I think
Yeah.
it is super good that it is unique. I do not think you want to see multiples of this spread around.
I think they thought that very carefully before when deciding that.
And whilst it initially seemed a bit odd to me, I think the small ship only limitation is quite good as well, because it means you can't just pull that damage off onto a large ship where it doesn't have as much meaning.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just slap it on
a ghost.
the Falcon.
On a ghost
take
anyway.
it, but a Falcon.
It's also because I also think it's also a factor that because a range 1 on a large base is a lot larger than a small base.
That too.
That is a very good
covers
point
a
as
lot
well.
more, a lot more area.
So I think not only is this a very good card that has got a useful and interesting place in the Rebel fleet, I think it's a very smart bit of design by FFG, who have thought the consequences of this card through quite thoroughly.
Definitely.
Hey, at least they've made up for the not thinking the consequences through with the Jump Master now.
You
They're
see,
thinking more.
this is where we're going to have a disagreement, which is the Jump Master is just fine.
No, I'm saying that because I spent a lot of time in the booth, about this time last year, watching game after game of triple jumps.
Fair comment.
I have no issues with Jump Masters personally, but it's just because we've seen a lot of them, and they had to do 2 nerfs to rectify it. But
Anyway, moving on. This ship still has 2 more cards, and then there's a whole other ship and a game.
Next up, in terms of our crew options, we have got... this one's going to take a little while, I'm afraid, folks. We've got the Breach Specialist, which is possibly the most densely packed text I have ever seen on one upgrade card. As a 1 point crew member, the Breach Specialist does the following, and I might just take a breath before I start on this. When you dealt a face-up damage card, you may spend 1 reinforced token to flip it face down without resolving its effect. If you do, until the end of the round, when you are dealt a face-up damage card, flip it face down without resolving its effect.
What you've just done there is you've just made a Chewie
Yeah, for a point.
for a point.
In crew.
Yep. As long as you can get those reinforce
As
options.
long as you're in the Wookiee gunship.
Yes.
So, interesting thoughts.
Or an
here.
epic.
Or playing Epic, yeah.
On the Wookiee gunship, I think it's quite useful.
Yeah.
It's not stunning, but at one point it does some interesting things. And on someone like, say, Wolfwaro, where you want to keep your ship functioning at full efficiency for a while, the ability to stop crits dead might be hugely valuable.
Mm.
And on an epic ship, that's obviously got value.
Yeah.
No crits for a whole turn.
Crits on epic ships are utterly devastating. Like, they are far worse than the standard crit deck in my experience. And the ability to just switch it off, you know that there's going to be like 2 or 3 shillings shooting at you with manga cannons. Just no.
Just stop that. None of it. None of that.
I think Breach Specialist is quite decent, and it's a very nice upgrade for epic play.
For a single point. It's good and cheap.
So actually, Wolfero with Breach Specialist and C-3PO could be absolutely nuts.
It's quite tanky, and you can stop crits.
You can stop crits. You give that, and if you give him, say, Predator, so he actually gets attack modification, he could do some hurt.
And Breach Specialist you can spend at the point you want to spend it, so it doesn't even have to be on the first attack.
You can look at the crit first as well.
Yeah.
Like with an integrated astromech, see what's coming and decide whether you'd rather have your reinforced token keep going for a little bit, or whether just you want to stop that.
Direct hit. Nope.
Or, other things of that nature. Blinded pilot. That
Blinded
kind of
pilot, yeah, stunned pilot, and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
And last of all, hitting our the next in our theme of double upgrade cards, we've got Wookiee Commandos.
So you can just pack those Wookiees in there.
Just
so many Wookiees.
Wookiees.
Just have a ship full of Wookiees.
Wookiee Commandos are a rebel-only 2 crew slot 1 point upgrade, which is more or less specifically made for the Auzituck and almost nothing else.
Basically.
When attacking, you may re-roll your focus results.
Yeah.
So it gives you a little bit of offensive dice modification.
Yeah.
It's not much, but it is distinctly better than nothing, and it is clearly designed for ships that have a sufficient strain on their action economy or sufficient limits on their available actions that they are not going to be able to focus that turn.
Yeah. Basically, this.
Yeah.
So it can go in with its
Reinforce.
with its reinforce and get some attack modification thanks to just piling in the Wookiees. It does also mean the Pilot Skill 1 version, you can get that with Wookiee Commandos for 25 points.
So I'll take 4 of those, please.
Just Wookiees.
Just Wookiees.
I'd just like to fly Wookiees
Here's
tonight,
some Wookiees.
please.
If you bring a thematic Wookiee build to Store Champs, you're a hero.
This will not be legal for store champs.
This will not be legal to Store Champs, but say if you
Next
bring it
time.
to your Store Champs,
Yeah.
you'll be a hero.
Do it.
Do it, it'll be great.
Just Wookiees everywhere, people.
Yeah.
So Chewie flying somewhere with some Wookiee gunships. Yeah.
Just pile of Wookiee gunships.
The other thing that's worth noting,
See if you can get the board with Kashyyyk on it.
as a double crew slot, this does have a very narrow role in Epic, because you can take the Tantive 4 title on the CR90, get a double crew slot and put Wookiee Commandos for 1 point on your CR90 and have rerolls on every single attack that CR90 is making, which is potentially 3 hard points and its primary weapon. So if you really want
See, look
to
what you've done to him, man.
if
You
you
really
really
wanna kill
want
a
to
thing.
light up an enemy capital ship with your turbo lasers,
Wookiees.
Just do it.
bring the Wookiees.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
pile them in there.
and it's 1 point.
Yeah.
So in that one very specific role in Epic, I'm quite excited about that.
Oh dear. No, I like that. It's going to see a lot of play, and I think when we were talking about the wave as a whole, the gunship for me was the first thing that made me go, I really want. And yeah, we've got some neat little upgrades in there. As you were saying, some neat little like glimpses at the older cards as well, like Tactician and Shield upgrade, also Hull upgrade and stuff like that. It's nice to have some like other ways of guessing stuff. FFG, reprint auto thrusters, please.
Amen to that.
More things with auto thrusters
Even
would
as
be,
a man
would be
who
present.
owns 2 Star Vipers,
Yeah.
I think it would be good to see them elsewhere.
It would. It really would.
I'm quite sold on the Auzituck. I like
so.
it. I think it's an interesting ship.
It's got
I think it's being a bit unfairly dismissed by the initial assessments of this
I
wave.
think so. I think I agree with you. And if we're taking the precedent of ships everyone disparages and people in this stream think are actually quite good, it means that's going to be amazing.
Yes.
But also could just go the other way.
It
So-
could. It's entirely possible. I'm basing this entirely off the TIE
Because
SF.
you've now made it where it won't become a thing.
That's
So,
true.
guys, 6 months' time, when we're in the Auzituck meta,
Yeah.
we called it first. And if in 6
Hang on,
months' time
whoa.
we're not, just don't watch this video.
No, guys, here's the
Forget
thing.
about this.
Don't think about the meta. If Robin, in 6 months' time, is winning every single event going, with 4 of them,
Something's gone very
something's
odd.
gone very wrong. But
Can you imagine trying to take those things down? Jesus Christ. They'll live forever. Wookiees. You can't kill them.
worst case scenario, if it goes 0-0, you've got 12 attack dice to roll for a final salvo. Yes, please.
Yeah.
On to the last thing.
Yes.
The
The
most-
biggest thing.